Hello, I'm Todd Miner with RFit Dog Rehab and Fitness, and this segment we're going to talk about exercise. So we have a bunch of different videos highlighting each exercise. This being video number 1, I'm going to refer to it in the other videos because we're going to talk about some principles of exercise, reasons for doing the exercises, and also precautions that we should have as far as giving you guidance when doing these at home. All right, so first of all, we're talking about doing these exercises for a reason. The dogs are weak and they're probably a little bit stiff, and our goal is to get them to put their weight for most of these exercises back on their back legs. So as dogs get older, they tend to shift their weight a little bit forward. If you pan down to Lucy, Lucy is kind of a good example of what happens as a dog gets older. And this is part of the normal aging process. You'll see with her, the weight is forward on her front legs, so her shoulders are kind of leaning forward. She also has a bit of a hunch in her back where her head is lower than her back and her back is elevated. So there's almost more of a flex position because she doesn't have a lot of weight on these legs, okay? She's very heavy. She's light on this one too, and she's heavy on that one. See, she doesn't like that. So weight shifting is going to be something we're going to talk about, but this is an example of kind of a normal aging process. Now, Lucy has other conditions as well, but still a really good example. So the goal of exercise is going to be shifting the weight back onto the back legs in order to get all 4 legs working again to balance them out. So with that in mind, that's kind of our goals of exercise, is to get the back legs stronger. Now, there's some different guidelines that we want to use. First of all, fatigue and judging fatigue in a dog, that can be a little bit tricky for people that haven't done that before. But what we're looking at is any sense of the exercises becoming a little bit more difficult. If a dog tends to sit down a lot or we see a limb shaking, it doesn't take a lot to stimulate muscle growth. So less is more is really the big principle in strengthening. We're going to start out with very low repetitions for a dog that's new to exercise, especially with older dogs, but even younger dogs too. It's just like for people, if you're doing an activity that you haven't done before, you're going to be sore. It's normal. Now, we don't want to push these dogs to a point of soreness where they can't work the next day, because that's not necessary. So we don't have to do that. That's counterproductive. So as soon as you start seeing signs of fatigue, we stop. And again, I'm going to give you really basic guidelines to do low repetitions initially. Another thing is rest. So a dog should rest at least 24 hours after exercising. It's very important for the body to recover. That's when growth occurs. We don't do these exercises every day. Every other day would be the most that we would do it. Most likely for many dogs, it's going to be twice a week. All right, so that's good for the frequency. Posture and form is very important. So doing these exercises, it's very important that we use good form. Just like with a weightlifter, for us doing exercises, if you don't go through the full range of motion or do it properly, you're not going to be getting the most benefit out of the exercise. So form, and what I'm going to be showing you and talking about in the videos, is going to be guidelines for doing proper posture. Think about it just like if you're bench pressing. If you only bench this much versus going all the way down to your chest, you're not going to be working the entire muscle. So it's very important for us to work on the entire range of motion for the exercises. All right, so welcome, and let's get to it. Okay, so the first exercise we're going to talk about is reach and stretch. Now, if you can imagine yourself, if you're going for a tall dish in a cupboard, you have to reach and stretch and get that cup or that dish out of the cupboard. That's the same exercise we're doing for our dogs. Now, the reason why we're doing that is because it works the low back, it works the paraspinal muscles, and it helps accentuate extension. Like I mentioned previously in video episode 1, this is where the dogs are flexed. We want to reverse that and get the extension again in the low back to reduce the hunch. So this is a great exercise for doing that. One other thing I want to talk about is harnesses, okay? Doing these exercises, I would strongly recommend getting a harness. A harness is important because you want to be able to guide your dog and assist them to get into certain postures without pulling on their neck. We don't want to pull on their neck. It's just a horrible thing. I wish collars were never invented, okay? All right, so the first activity that we're gonna do is the reach and stretch. And Earl's relatively new to this. We haven't done this, so we're gonna see how he does, but it's a good example of working with your dog for the first time. As far as the height goes, this is a little bit higher than a step. What we're gonna be actually doing is, for many dogs, you're gonna start out with a very low level and you're gonna build up. So with Earl, we're gonna start out low, let him get used to it, so maybe just an inch or two. You can use a couple of blankets, you can use some books, you can do anything that's going to be stable and non-slippery. The other thing that's very important is the surface where the bottom feet are needs to be non-slip as well. Do not do this on hardwood floors, don't do it on tile floors. You're looking to cause injury, okay? So we want to have stability so the dog is comfortable and they're able to balance in the way that we want to do, okay? All right. So we're going to bring here, what you want to do now is you want to get their front feet up. And so we're using treats as a motivator. Most dogs, I'd say 99% of them, are motivated with food. So you want to get a healthy treat because we're going to be doing lots of repetitions. So I would really recommend using carrots or green beans or some type of vegetable because it's going to be the healthiest way. So if your dog doesn't eat vegetables, then use small amounts of their normal dog food. It's also a good way to do it because we know that's probably healthier than the treats. You don't want to use a lot of treats for these activities unless you absolutely have to. All right, so Earl loves his carrots, and we're gonna stand up. Ready? Up, Hurley. And then this is a reason for the harness, all right? So I'm gonna assist him to get up. Ready? Up, you got it. Good boy, there you go. And then we're gonna work and start reach and stretch. So here's the posture. We're looking at a balanced posture. The front legs are elevated. The goal that Esme is trying to do is to get him to reach for the treat. So we're going to be in this position, both legs, you see this leg's out a little bit. We're going to try to balance him a little bit here, looking for good posture, all right? So this is a good basic way to start. Get the treaty, come on Earl. And then it's about getting him. Now you could do this as a one-person exercise as well, if you're able to stand by your dog and reach and stretch. I'm lucky because I have somebody else, but Earl's quite distracted right now, so he's not a good reacher and stretcher. Hurley, get the treat. What is it? You could try some beef lung then. So we're gonna get a stronger treat. There's some over there. Because Earl's had a lot of carrots. He knows he's on film. And he's gonna be very difficult. Yeah, so you wanna... Okay, what do you think of that? Look, Earl. Oh, and let's reach and stretch. There we go. So not so much of a leap, but he's gonna do that initially because he's figuring this out. Like I said, he's not an expert on this. He's new for this exercise, which is a good example so you just don't think that they naturally pick this stuff up. Ready? You got it. You get it. You can do it. Come on, Pearly. Give us a reach. Up, up. Get it. I don't know why you're so distracted. Come on. Come on, Mr. Pearl. You got it. Come on. There it is. Get it. Come on. Now you see what Esme's doing is she's getting his head to go back, which is getting the weight onto the back legs. The important thing to see is dogs are really good cheaters and they can actually stand with, even on an elevated platform, with their weight on just their front legs. So by pushing the weight, the treat back, the head up, look at all the extension we're getting here. You see how good this is? That's what we're trying to get. And he gets tired when he sits. All right, ready? Up, up. You can do it. Okay, go on up. Good boy. And let's do it again. So he's learning this exercise. This is not something he's done before. There you go. Good boy. And here we get some extension. So there's extension through the spine. And we want to see these muscles. He's short-haired, so we can hopefully see his back contract when he stretches and reaches. We're going to start seeing him push there. And we're looking for extension. Good boy. Very good. Let's do it again. Come on. And good. There it is. Look at that. Good boy. So you see those legs are working. He's sitting because he's actually getting fatigued by doing this. So we may start out just doing 3 to 5, and if your dog gets tired, that's when you stop. Okay, back up, up, up. Do it again. Come on. Good boy. And get it. Go on. Give it a stretch. Look at that. Good extension. Good exercise. So the way that we're going to talk about repetitions here is ideally you want to try to get up to about 30 and do that like 2 or 3 days a week with a day of rest in between. As they become capable of doing about 20 to 30, you can then increase the elevation. We'll start out at about 2 inches on the ground. Maybe you start out doing 5 or 6 if they fatigue, and then over the course of a couple of weeks, you can probably get them up to 20 or 30 repetitions. All right, so that's a good way to kind of bring them up. You see how the form is here. You see how there's pretty good weight distribution on all fours. He's pretty even, and he's comfortable. He's not struggling. So he hasn't really fatigued yet. So he can probably easily do 30. In his case, we're going to bring it up even higher. So we're going to go ahead and do an elevated look so you can see more of the muscles working. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so let's go up higher. Ready, Pearl? Come on. You got it. Up, up. Come on. Get up. Up, up. You got it. Come on. So again, harness comes into play. You can also lift him here if you want. But I'm going to bring him up right here. Ready? Up, up. Good boy. There we go. As you can see, the higher we get, improved extension. Good boy. Look at that nice curve in his back. And we're going to see if these paraspinals work now. Oh, good boy. You can see how this is much more dynamic the higher we are. There's more weight shifted onto the back legs. And here he's working on his reach and stretch. Ready? I'll make sure that I have in the liner notes, we'll have kind of the progression and the amount and leave all that listed so you can see that also if you want to refer back in this video and do it again. So you see what's happening here. It's a transfer of weight onto the back legs. His head is elevated. His entire spine is extended. All of these muscles are working. If you think about it, this is the opposite posture that Lucy the Beagle showed us earlier, where the head was down and the hips were above the head. This is our goal, right? Nice, good posture. Look at that. He's moving very dynamically. Good job, Pearl. And those legs are starting to work. All right. Okay, great. Good first exercise. We're going to move on to another exercise.